Information fueled.
Opinion driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Cinco de Mayo across Middle Tennessee. So I want to get this right. So apparently ICE decided to celebrate Cinco de Mayo with a raid in Nashville. Is that what it was?
I think that you probably nailed it there. Yeah.
Did I nail it?
Yep.
Okay, very good. We'll talk about that. Do you know that, I mean, obviously that is controversial. We'll get into all of that. But do you know that there's another controversy that is stemming from this whole thing? That people on the left are apoplectic about something that happened during this raid. Not just the raid, but something that happened during the raid. Do you know what happened, Joan, during the raid? And why people are really angry about all this? Do you know the story?
I'm not. No.
of the cigar?
The cigar?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
no.
don't. All right, we'll talk about it.
This sounds good.
We'll talk about it coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It has to do with a cigar.
Okay.
We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Myself, welcome ICE to Nashville. We have a lot of work to do. Anyway, moving on from there. I've got a lot of things to cover today. Donald Trump was attacked on 60 Minutes last night. This is where I want to start. So they come up with 60 Minutes, right? And Scott Pelley. They have this much anticipated segment where they branded it. They promoted the segment saying, and this was all over the internet, saying that President Trump was going to be livid after he saw this segment. So I'm going to tell you about the segment. I'm going to tell you how this segment literally proves the biasness of 60 Minutes. Not that we actually needed to prove the bias of 60 Minutes, because we all know. But they went after Donald Trump because they say he is going after law firms that attacked him. So this is part of the story. We're going to get into this because I think this is fascinating.
Well, the law firms all want to make deals. You mean the law firms that we're going after, that went after me for 4 years, ruthlessly, violently, illegally? You mean, are those the law firms you're talking about? They're not babies. They're very sophisticated people. Those law firms did bad things. They went after me for years. Russia hoax, all a hoax.
All right, so you remember the executive order Donald Trump signed that he was suing law firms that weaponized the justice system. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that these law firms that Donald Trump is going after weaponized the legal system, the justice system, going after him because of his political party and his policies. And clearly they didn't like Donald Trump, and they are clearly left-leaning. But one example, and this proves to you the bias of CBS and the bias of 60 Minutes. Do you know who they used as the poster child of the victims of Donald Trump? Mark Elias. That's right. Now, Mark Elias was with Perkins Coie, and he served as general counsel for Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. Now, Trump is going after him because, and this is from the Trump administration, for egregious and unlawful acts during the 2016 election. Do you know that Mark Elias is the guy behind the dirty dossier? And so when you watch this episode from 60 Minutes, it is 16 minutes I will never get back. Because they paint these law firms, and they paint a guy like Mark Elias as a victim. But remember who he is exactly. Mark Elias is the guy who spearheaded the dirty dossier, the opposition research that was full of lies and smears. Remember all that. He is the guy that was the general counsel for Hillary Clinton as she was running for president against Trump in 2016. He hires, while working for Hillary, he hires an opposition research company called Fusion GPS to come up with the dossier that led to the Mueller investigation. Mark Elias was the guy behind all of that. And he was working with Perkins Coie at the time.
Russia hoax, all a hoax.
What Trump means by a hoax were allegations in 2016 of shady dealings with Russia by Trump and his campaign. He's right that the FBI could not corroborate what was described as rumor. At least one allegation was promoted to the media by Clinton campaign representatives when Mark Elias was general counsel.
Exactly. So you see what's going on. Mark Elias hires the company to do the opposition research. That hires Christopher Steele. They come up with the dossier. It is sold to the media. The media tries to sell it to the American people. Mark Elias was behind all of that. And so the Trump administration and Donald Trump, he's fighting back. He's going after the law firms that clearly used, in my opinion, nefarious ways to try and impact an election. Because remember, opposition research, and I just want to say this, if opposition research is like things that candidates have done that is true, or things that they have done that could be, at the very least, construed as true, okay. But the dirty dossier that ultimately came from Mark Elias, it was full of lies and accusations that, in my opinion, they knew that this was all made up out of thin air. But listen to how Mark Elias plays the victim.
Donald Trump hates me because I fight hard and I fight for free and fair elections. I insist on fighting for democracy in court, fighting for voting rights in court, and insist on telling the truth about what the outcome of the 2020 election was.
No. Because remember, this is all about 2016. Donald Trump hates Mark Elias, and I hate Mark Elias, and you should hate Mark Elias, because his actions led to Donald Trump being investigated for years over this bogus, dirty dossier, which everybody in Washington, D.C. knew was full of BS, but they carried it. They carried water for these accusations. And so Mark Elias does deserve what he gets because, again, it was all based on lies. Political opposition research is supposed to be based on things that are at least somewhat truthful. Not lies made out of thin air, but that is exactly what the dirty dossier was. I don't want to relitigate the whole thing. You folks know that we spoke about this for years. But that's what the dirty dossier was. And Mark Elias funded it. He hired the company and he funded that company to come up with the dossier when he worked for the Clinton campaign. But listen to how Scott Pelley kind of glosses over everything that happened in the 2016 election.
Mark Elias first crossed Trump in 2016. He was the top lawyer for the Clinton campaign.
Yeah, he tried to destroy Donald Trump's reputation and he tried to destroy his campaign. And yet Elias plays the victim card.
Donald Trump is the walking embodiment of everything that is wrong with the American political system. Wow. And so when Donald Trump says that I am unethical or that I am undermining his vision of America, I say, boy, I must be doing something right.
No, you're not doing anything right. You weaponized the justice system. You went after Donald Trump with what I would call complete lies, obfuscations, the dirty dossier. And so for President Trump, in my opinion, he is well within his right to go after these law firms. Now, some are fighting back, some aren't. I've got a few more comments from Donald Trump straight ahead. It is 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
They all look good. Just the road work this morning in Smyrna on Lee Victory Parkway in both directions. The on-ramp from South Lowry Street is under repair, a bridge there under repair. That may cause some delays this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. As far as your weather for today, friends, a high of 65, lingering showers as well. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. And the reason why I'm focusing on Mark Elias and Perkins Coie, because there were other examples that 60 Minutes used in this piece where they promoted it as saying, oh, Donald Trump's going to get really angry after we air this piece. I think they did Donald Trump a favor because they used Mark Elias as the poster child for Donald Trump illegally, unethically, however you want to describe what Donald Trump is doing as going after these law firms. But when they use Mark Elias as the poster child for that, they're really doing Donald Trump a favor because of what Elias did to an elected president of the United States and about how they concocted this thing, the dirty dossier, out of thin air. So Trump went after these law firms for various reasons in this case. Dirty dossier, election interference cases related to 2020, or the classified documents case. There was a lot.
This is an absolute honor to sign. What they've done is it's just terrible.
Targeted firms say what the president signed amounted to a corporate death penalty.
And it should never be allowed to happen again.
I mean, that's the whole point of Donald Trump. He has always said that what happened to him with these, dirty law firms, with these corrupt law firms, these law firms that are obviously clearly left-leaning, and they made up this opposition research on Donald Trump. And so what he's saying is that this shouldn't happen to a Republican or a Democrat. The law firms he went after, their attorneys were not allowed to go into federal court buildings after Trump signed the executive order, and contracts with federal contractors would be canceled as well. So what Trump did really is an example of, I would say, cancel culture, but from the right. But realize this, because that's what some people are accusing the president of doing. Oh, it's just, this is Donald Trump and he's engaged in cancel culture. No, he's not. To me, cancel culture is if you said the wrong thing or if you posted the wrong thing on the socials, well, then, you're going to get, in my opinion, unjustifiably canceled. Career ruined, name besmirched, and so forth. But with Trump and what he's doing with these law firms, it is because they concocted lies about him. And he wants to make sure that doesn't happen again. He wants to make sure it doesn't happen to someone like, whoever runs in the next presidential election, whether it is J.D. Vance, whether it is Marco Rubio, whatever. Opposition research should not literally be lies that are manufactured about a candidate. And so, Trump said you're not allowed to go into federal court buildings, and contracts with federal contractors, those are going to be canceled as well. And so these law firms, of course, as you can imagine, they're freaking out.
A senior partner at one firm told us the president's orders were, quote, diabolical, intended to bankrupt us. He said within hours, his major clients were threatening to drop his firm.
Can we just talk about the definition of diabolical? Think about the classified documents case. They went after Trump, these law firms, right? Went after Donald Trump big time. It was just a major deal where you've got the case, the FBI storms into Mar-a-Lago, the whole thing. And the media sold it. The law firms sold it. The law firms went after Donald Trump as well. That case was ultimately dismissed. The Mueller investigation ultimately comes up with nothing. But not before they almost destroyed Donald Trump's political career. And so now you've got all of these law firms, and some are fighting back, and some decided, you know what we're going to have to do? We are going to have to negotiate a deal with the White House and work with the White House to basically give them free legal services. Here's part of that story.
It is trying to intimidate them, the way in which a mob boss intimidates people in the neighborhood that he is seeking to either exact protection money from or engage in other nefarious conduct. The fact is that these law firms are being told, if you don't play ball with us, maybe something really bad will happen to you.
The 9 firms did not admit wrongdoing, but altogether, they agreed to give nearly $1 billion in legal services to causes that the firms and Trump support.
So I guess my question would be, everybody's saying, this is going to have a chilling impact on these firms and law firms, generally speaking. Well, the reality is that if law firms are going after political candidates and politicians frivolously, and making things up as they go along, then they have to take responsibility. What do we say? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Donald Trump is doing nothing but standing up for himself. Donald Trump is doing nothing but saying, you know what? You shouldn't be allowed to do this, and something's got to change. Because that's what these law firms did. In my opinion, they took advantage of any number of situations to concoct with these to, what's the best way to put this? They took a story, they made it up, they work with the FBI and they work with the media, and they all work in concert to destroy a political candidate. That is exactly what they did to Donald Trump, and he is fighting back because you have to. And here's the thing. If these 9 law firms felt like they were innocent in all of this, my opinion, they would have fought it. But they didn't. They effectively said, you know what? We're not going to admit any wrongdoing, but we'll work with you for a whole bunch of free legal services on issues that we all agree on. But they tried to destroy his first administration with lawfare. And so now President Trump fought back, and I think that this is a really good thing, because let's all be honest with what is going on here. It's the left who did this to Donald Trump, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the president now fighting back. Is this Donald Trump? Oh my God, he's going to go after his political enemies. Well, why not? Because his political enemies went after him. 522, Joan Jones has the news coming up at 5:30. Hello, Joan.
Hello, Dan. Well, we have more on those ICE sweeps over the weekend. And after a man's body was found dead inside of a car that had been towed away, police are saying now whether the towing company will be held responsible. We've got those stories and more coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.